Hello, this is the Stories Beside channel. I release videos every day for you. Subscribe and click the bell. Alex wandered back to his shack, barely able to drag his feet. He had been loading heavy sacks of sugar at the market all day. He was very tired, and they had paid him a couple of bucks by those shrewd peddlers. He was in no mood at all. The guy wondered what kind of life was this dog's life. And the doghouse. Somebody's living it up, and somebody's getting by on bread and water. Why is it so unfair? Suddenly, a squeak was heard from the bushes in front of the house of the rich. Without thinking, Alex went there. He did not know if an animal needed help, but what he saw shocked him. There was a bag, firmly tied with several knots, and something was moving faintly in it. The boy could barely manage to untie it and was dumbfounded. It was barely breathing. A helpless little puppy. He was shaking with hunger, fear, and cold and whimpering desperately, trying to survive and get out of the trap. Alex was indignant. What kind of animal had done this? What kind of beast would do such a thing? Well, you do not need a puppy. Let him go, just let him be homeless, but alive. Why so cruel? The boy shoved the poor thing under his armpit in his jacket and ran to his place as fast as the wind. This puppy reminded Alex of himself, just as abandoned and unwanted. The first thing he did was to get the baby drunk. It drank water long and greedily. Then the boy poured him the rest of the milk and dyed some bread in it. There was nothing else to eat anyway. The puppy was happy about that and ate it all in a second. The saucer was clean. Alex took the puppy in his arms and began to look closer. At the same time, he scratched him behind the ear. He reasoned strangely. The puppy was very well groomed in an expensive leather collar, his coat shiny and flea-free. No, he didn't look like he was unloved. What am I going to feed him? I don't always have food myself, especially since he's a big puppy. Looks like a Labrador. The bone is very massive. You can see the expensive and pedigree. It must have cost a lot of money. What happened? Who was disturbing such a handsome boy? The puppy, calmed down and matured, immediately fell asleep in Alex's arms, and he dared not move. So he sat stroking his tummy. He remembered his troubled childhood. Mama Jenna raised Alex alone. Her father had never been there. They lived on the outskirts of town in a modest one-room apartment. Since childhood, Alex understood how hard it was for his mom. After all, she worked as a simple cleaning lady, paid little, and they saved literally everything. About his father, where he was, and why he did not live with them, the boy did not ask his mother, because she immediately started crying in kindergarten, and Alex was often teased at school as a beggar. They mocked him for his laundered old clothes and shunned him. The boy was very hurt. He often cried and tried to fight. Especially wounded his childish soul were the words, "Oh, look, the son of the washerwoman is coming." The boy was literally furious about it, and he threw his fists at the abusers, trying to defend his mother's honor. Alex started working behind his mother's back early on. He wanted to help her and at least buy something for himself. He certainly remembered his first earnings. A neighbor asked the teenager to paint a fence and promised to pay him handsomely. The poor child spent the entire day with a brush and a felt boot in the sun. He was tired, but he did his best. He was so proud of himself. That handful of change, a few bills his neighbor gave him, seemed like a fortune to him. Alex immediately ran to the store and bought some sausage and candy. His mother, coming home from work in the evening, was very surprised. Where did such a luxury? And his son proudly replied he earned it himself. "Uncle Jack, I painted the fence. Tell me, Mom, I'm good for it." The woman hugged her son, stroked his naughty hair, and said affectionately, "You're my hero and well done. A real helper, Mom's man. I am proud of you." These mother's words struck a teenager in the soul that since that time he often began to undertake any part-time work to please his closest and dearest person, to help somebody from his acquaintances to assemble the furniture, to unload the stuff. Alex had no friends in his class, so he decided not to go to the prom. Why should he have to endure the stares and mockery? Mom was very upset at the time. How could it be, my son? This is such a holiday. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And I'll ask Aunt Wendy for a costume. Ben's grown out of it anyway. You'll get some rest. Have a good time with your friends. We'll give you some money. How much do you need? I'll borrow it from my boss at work. I'll ask for it. And then with every paycheck, I'll pay it back a little. But Alex shook his head stubbornly. No, Mom, I will not go. I have no friends there. If he sees me in Ben's suit, they will laugh, and I don't need to go into debt. I don't have any money. I'm just glad school's finally over. I'll go get my diploma later. I'll go to work and help you. I'll be rich soon, and I'll rub their noses in it. You'll see. The woman just threw up her hands. How will you work? As what? As a longshoreman again. Sonny, do you need to study? At least finish college, get a profession. Then you can find a better job. But look at me. I'm 43, but I look 60 and have a lot of illnesses. I spend all my money on medication. It's all because I dropped out of university. Now I regret it so much without an education. They won't hire me for any decent job. Is that the fate you want for yourself? You've got golden hands. I've repaired all the appliances at home myself 100 times. And you studied well, but don't be stupid. Listen to your mother. You should take care of your health. But Alex was as stubborn as a bull and stood his ground. Well, you made the same comparison. You're a woman, and I'm a young and healthy guy. I could go anywhere. They'll take me anywhere. I'm not wasting another 3 years. I'm going to work. I'll go to the mall. I've checked. You can get a job there at 18. The naive kid thought he'd make a lot of money this way and get fabulously rich, not realizing yet that it was the hardest and lowest paid work, which took so much energy and health. And then my mother's health from her hard work took a turn for the worse. Her heart problems began. My blood pressure was skyrocketing all the time, and Alex began to work for 3, often staying and after work to unload. He tried his best to earn extra money and help his mother to buy necessary medicines. He felt sorry for her and loved her very much. But despite all his efforts, Mom was getting worse and worse, and a year later she died. It was a terrible grief for the boy. He missed his mother. He missed her kind words of support and the warmth of her hands. Things were not going well in his personal life either. Outwardly, Alex was an attractive, tall, athletic, lean guy, and girls eagerly got acquainted with him. But as soon as they found out he was a simple loader with no education and prospects, their relationship dissipated. The guy suffered so much from loneliness that he couldn't stand it and gave up. He got involved with a bad company and started drinking. The cunning scoundrels quickly realized who was in front of them and dashingly deceived him through a drunken encounter, taking away his apartment. Or rather, he signed all the documents himself, being in a drunken stupor with the black realtors. So Alex became homeless and went downhill. He lived in a shack on the edge of town, abandoned, eating what he had to and dragging out a miserable existence. He didn't even want to live, only to get drunk again and forget himself. It was like that every day. And recently he had a dream about his mother. She was crying, looking at him with a mute reproach, and begged Alex, "My son, please don't drink. Come to your senses, my son. It hurts my soul to look at you. I didn't think you would become like this." The boy woke up in a cold sweat and fell to his knees. He whispered into the darkness, "Forgive me, Mommy. What's upsetting you again? I swear I will not drink another drop. I give you my word. Do you believe me? I just feel so bad without you." Alex hasn't had a drink since that day. It was like a clean break. He didn't even want a drop. He turned in all the empty liquor bottles, took all his friends away, and even moved into the shacks. And now I found this puppy. Alex named him Max. He bought him some porridge and cheap minced chicken and began to raise him. But he quickly realized that the puppy is big and eats more than he does. and for a long time he simply would not be able to keep him. So the guy decided to go to the rich people's house to see if maybe their puppy was lost. You never know, maybe they were looking for him. Without much hope, the tramp rang the doorbell of the elite mansion, holding his foundling behind his bosom. The door was opened by a pretty young girl. She seemed to Alex something like a princess from a fairy tale. Her long, smooth as silk, black hair was intricately arranged in a beautiful bun, and her brown eyes with long, fluffy lashes, straight up mesmerizing, a real oriental beauty. The guy was so confused that he blushed like a boiled crawfish. She asked in astonishment, "Good afternoon. Who are you looking for? You do not have the wrong address." Alex, greatly embarrassed, replied, "Hello. I wanted to ask you if you lost this puppy. Maybe it's yours." And he took a puppy out of her pocket. The girl jumped for joy. "Richie is my good boy. Oh my God, you found him. Come here, my baby." I put up flyers and an ad on the internet. No one responded. The puppy started tearing up and happily wagging his tail, clearly recognizing his mistress. She took him in her arms and began to kiss his wet nose and cry, "Thank you very much. Come on in. My name is Kelly, and I'm all eyes. You've been crying so long without my naughty boy. Where did you find him?" I can't figure out how he managed to sneak into the street. The tramp was embarrassed, but made his way into the yard. "My name is Alex. I live around here on the outskirts. I work as a longshoreman at the market. And sometimes there's no work at all. And recently I go home and hear a squeak in the bushes, and there's a bag tightly tied and a puppy in it. But I set him free, fed and sheltered him. Who did this to him? That's cruel. You take care of him. Don't let him get hurt. I would have kept him. I'm very fond of him, but I eat what I have to myself. It would be hard to keep a big dog like that." Kelly frowned. She got serious. "A sack, you say? Well, all right. I'll take care of it. I have some thoughts on that. Don't worry. I won't let Richie out of my sight. Listen, Alex, I need a janitor and a gardener, or Uncle Michael, who's been with us for years. He's retired, and the grounds are huge, as you can see. I have to keep an eye on everything, clean the bushes, and trim them. I will pay well, without deception. You can even live in the house for the servants. There's a spare room there. But I have two conditions: no drinking and no laziness." Alex was very happy. It was the kind of happiness he couldn't have dreamed of. It was getting colder outside. Soon it would be winter, and the shanty towns had nothing but holes in the roof. He had no idea how he would survive, so he gladly accepted the offer. "Thank you, Kelly. I won't let you down. I'll work very hard. I'm no stranger to hard work. I've given up drinking altogether, so that won't be a problem either. I'll take care of Richie too. It's a shame to let him go. He's a funny puppy." That's how Alex got to work for a family of rich people. The boy quickly got the hang of it, made friends with the cook and the driver and the elderly maid Miranda, and became one of their own. From them, he learned the history of the house and its owners. Kelly's father was a prominent businessman who owned a chain of restaurants in town. Her mother died early, when the girl was only 2 years old, and her father raised her alone. Never married again. Kelly was spoken of fondly. They said she was a good girl, kind, fair. A year ago, her father became seriously ill. Couldn't figure it out for a long time. Nothing bothered him but weakness and sleepiness. But he chalked it up to constant stress at work. Then a long, persistent cough began, and when he went to the specialists, it was too late. He had terminal cancer. He was treated in Israel in the best clinic. But still, a year later, the man died. Kelly was by his bedside until his last breath. When she learned of her father's illness, she immediately rushed home from abroad, where she studied at the University of Economics. So Kelly became a rich heiress. After all the businessman's assets and money passed by right to her. The girl was not confused and did not sell the company. She actively penetrated into her father's business, although for her it was not yet easy. She was about to have a wedding. Preparations were in full swing, but her fiancé, Arthur's entire attendant, did not speak well of her. Miranda grumbled, "He's a crook wherever he came from, but on the walls, on his head. I don't know who he is and where he comes from. I asked my friends about it, and nobody knew him. He is a foreigner, he has such nasty eyes, and all the time it is obvious that he is hiding something. Oh, and we will cry with him and his mother, who is paralyzed." It turned out that Kelly's fiancé has a sick and paralyzed mother, and the groom has already moved her to the mansion not to leave her alone. Alex at first was perplexed. "Well, he is good, Arthur. Is it possible to leave your mother alone in such a situation? I would not leave her either. She's the dearest person I know." Rob the chauffeur saddled the guy. "Wait till you draw a conclusion. You'll see Arthur for yourself, and his mother will talk differently." He was a real piece of work. And the very next day, Alex had to meet him. He was sweeping the area, removing the attacking yellow leaves, and was playing with Richie. He threw him a stick. Puppy barked happily and carried it back in his teeth. The unpleasant-looking Arthur came out on the porch, and the dog rolled right under his feet. He grimaced and kicked the dog with a hiss. "Go away, you shaggy-haired brat. You're messing with my feet," he hissed, and his ears flattened. Fearing another blow inside, Alex was all over the kennel. He now knew exactly who had thrown Richie out. Then into the bushes, probably Doom. The janitor called for Richie's puppy. "Come to me. Come with me. Baby, let's not get in the way. Let me take pity on you." Alex stroked the dog, and he followed him trustingly, knowing that he would not hurt him. Suddenly, Arthur called Alex. "Who are you? What are you doing here? You look like a protector. I haven't seen you before." The guy answered, "Good afternoon. I'm the new janitor and gardener instead of Michael. My name is Alex. I live and work here. Don't yell. I'll take Richie away now. He's just a kid playing." Arthur's getting all worked up, "And you don't tell me what to do. I know whether to yell or not. You're all getting out of hand here. A dog has to know his place. He needs to be brought up tough, not coddled. It's all right. Soon it'll be all mine. I'll kick you the hell out, and that stinking song too." That's when Kelly came out into the yard. How pretty was she in her light coat and faded boots, all fresh, with a blush on her cheeks. When Arthur saw her, he immediately jumped up with a luscious smile and began to ingratiate himself with her. It made Alex so uncomfortable. Couldn't Kelly see that her fiancé was a total phony? How is she going to live with him? The guy realized he had fallen in love with his mistress. He just disappeared. He couldn't get enough of her. Couldn't get enough of her. Kelly responded, "Alex, good morning. How are you doing here? I'm enjoying it. Maybe you have any requests or suggestions." Alex blushed with embarrassment and quietly answered, "Thank you. Everything is fine. I try. I'm going to trim the trees today and clean the bathhouse." Kelly said, "Well, that's wonderful. I would like to ask you, Miranda will take care of Arthur's mother today, changing the sheets and so on. You'd better give her a hand. Lifts up a woman who is lying heavily by herself. Will she call you to the house when she needs you?" The owners left, and Alex went about his usual duties. Arthur arrived home before Kelly. Angrily, he glared at the janitor and went into the house. Soon Miranda shouted to Alex to come help. But first she asked to move the heavy oak dresser for cleaning while they fiddled with the team. Alex overheard a quiet conversation between Arthur and his mother. She hissed angrily at her son. "What are you dragging your feet for? I'll be playing dead for a long time. I'm all stiff already. I can get through the night at least a little. It's going to start soon. Get your bride out of the way already." "Yes, it's time to clean house," Arthur answered her quietly. "You're mad." "Not yet. I should officially marry her. Then I'll get everything. In the meantime, I'm nobody here. And you, even less so. So lie still. As soon as the wedding's over, I'll slip her a good drug." It'll stop her heart. That's all. No one will determine the cause of death. You don't risk it. You don't drink champagne. So be patient. It won't be long now. The restaurant is already booked. Miranda was already at an age and a little silly and did not understand the details of the conversation. Alex, on the other hand, was simply stunned that the hostess was in real danger. He decided to double-check what he had heard. Maybe he had misunderstood or misheard. When he and Miranda were moving Arthur's mother, he supposedly accidentally pinched her toe a little. If she really was paralyzed, she wouldn't even feel it. He watched Helen's facial expression, and she cringed in sharp pain and almost cried out, but she recovered herself in time to be silent. So it was true, and she was definitely pretending. Alex thought feverishly how to tell his mistress, how to warn her. After all, poor Kelly would blindly believe this scoundrel, but would she believe him? But the boy decided to let her throw him out. It didn't matter, but he had to let her know. He waited patiently for Kelly to arrive and spun around in the yard. As soon as the girl drove the car into the garage, Alex threw her in there unnoticed. He shut the garage door from the inside and began hurriedly telling Kelly, "Look, I have to warn you. You are in grave danger. I'm begging you to listen to me and take it seriously. Seriously, I care for you very much, and I will not survive if something bad happens." Surprised Kelly only blinked. She did not understand anything yet, but she saw that Alex was not joking. He looked pale and very scared. And she said what happened. Everything seemed fine. "The wedding is coming up. Arthur loves me. I don't understand what's wrong." The guy, confused, began to tell me the story. "Miranda and I were moving furniture today, and I overheard Arthur talking to his mother. Well, she is not paralyzed at all. Not only that, your fiancé doesn't love you at all. He is only going to marry you for money and wealth. And after the wedding, he's going to poison you so that you die of a heart attack. Did he get all your father's inheritance? I'll tell you more than that." I decided to check it out and deliberately pinched Helen's finger. She immediately grimaced in pain. "But is that possible? Also, your fiancé hates Richie. I've seen him yell at him and kick him myself. I'm sure he's the one who threw him in a sack to his certain death." Kelly was dumbfounded. "That just can't be. You're certainly not lying. But it was really weird what happened to Richie. My God, is it really true?" Alex asked, "How did you meet Arthur? What do you know about him, about his family?" Kelly thought about it. To be honest, it was so sudden. "He came over to my table in a restaurant and started flattering me with compliments and gallant courtship. That's how we met. Arthur works at Ister's company as deputy director. They seem to make cabinet furniture, but the company is in another city. And he didn't say. She seems to have been living abroad for a long time. Just all worried sick mom, and urged me to move her to our mansion even before the wedding. Well, not to abandon one." I agreed. This is so noble of him, touching care for a loved one. Although I agree with you, it's Helen, a very unpleasant person. Could it be because of her illness? Alex hotly parried. And I asked around the neighborhood. No one knows anything about your fiancé's family, and they have never heard of his company. Isn't that strange? Would you check it out? Please don't rush into the wedding. I'm very worried about you. Kelly became serious and quietly replied, "Thank you, Alex, for your vigilance. I'll have my friend at the police department double-check everything. And you can also make some excuse to put hidden cameras around the house, especially in Helen's room and Arthur's study. If everything you say is true, we'll soon see it." Alex replied, "And you tell the groom and his mother to check the wiring everywhere and bring in a specialist. And I'll kind of help him out and do it discreetly. I will not let anyone hurt you because you're my guardian angel. Do you know about it?" So they did. Alex discreetly installed some hidden cameras. She asked a familiar operative to find out everything she could about Arthur's family. And she began to look at him differently herself. Now she noticed, too, that her fiancé actually yells and calls Richie names when she's not around. Clearly, he doesn't like him, and she says the opposite to his face. How nice that the puppy was found without him so sad. It's scary to think what could have happened to him. And such small inconsistencies in 2 weeks accumulated a lot. And the groom's mother, Helen, looked at her strangely and unkindly at times right up to the crease. It was as if the girls were wearing rose-colored glasses. Why hadn't she noticed all this before? That night she got a call from the same guy she knew at the police station, David, and said, "Kelly, I've got some bad news. You are at home now. Is your fiancé too?" A worried Kelly answered, "Yes, we're all home for dinner. What have you found out? Don't keep me in suspense." "David, I'll continue. This is not a telephone conversation. This is more serious than that. I'm coming with a team right now. In the meantime, you just pretend like everything's okay." "Got it. I'll tell you when I get there." Kelly went pale. She even started to feel sick. Arthur noticed his fiancée's anxiety and asked, "Darling," who was on the phone, "you're not yourself. Is something wrong?" "Kelly, I don't know what to think of," she answered. "A friend called from the university. We used to be very close, just like sisters. She's coming over now. She's having problems in her personal life. Her fiancé left her, the bastard. She wants some advice." Arthur relaxed. It all makes sense. So it's women's issues again. "All right, then I'll eat and be in my office. I can't stand women's tears. You'd better get rid of her soon. I missed you so much." The family ate dinner, and Arthur went to his office. Soon a police car arrived. Kelly quietly opened the door. 3 operatives, David put his finger to his lips in the yard, called Alex from the yard, and they retreated to his maid's room. David said, "Well, let's see what we got on the security cameras from that time. You've got the footage with you in the car, and let's take a look without drawing attention. For some reason, I sense there's a lot of interesting stuff on there, since your fiancé Kelly is a professional gigolo and crook, and his mother isn't his mother at all, but an accomplice. Helen, the couple has been wanted for a long time in their town. So this time they decided to do the same thing in the neighboring town. The paralyzed mother is their trump card. So they pressed pity and made naive brides feel respect for the groom. What a noble, wonderful, loving son, wasn't he? It worked, and you believed it too. Except it never came to murder before. Usually they drove the brides crazy. They'd drug them and render them incompetent that way. So, what have we got there?" Kelly was horrified when she saw on camera her paralyzed mother walking around the house beautifully at night. Arthur, unconcealed, discusses with her the plans to eliminate his fiancée in detail. They discuss how much poison to put in, whether to die immediately or to torture her. What a nerve. He's not afraid of anything. But he's in trouble now. Shall we go inside? The operation's about to begin. Stand by, everybody. One of the operatives stepped sharply into Arthur's office and deftly twisted his arms behind his back. He screamed in surprise. "What is going on? Who are you?" "Kelly, what's this outrage? What are these people doing in our house?" But the policeman put him down. "Shut your mouth. You, citizen, are suspected of attempted murder of your fiancé and fraud. And we have hard evidence." 2 other officers and Alex went into the room of the lying patient. David sharply threw back the blanket. "Up we go. Mother, the concert is over. We know all about you. Helen, you conspired with Arthur to swindle such knave, rich heiresses. How many have you got on your books?" 2, if I'm not mistaken. But I see you've overstepped your bounds and even decided to commit murder. Fraud isn't enough for you anymore. The appetite grows with unprecedented vigor. Allegedly paralyzed Helen jumped out of bed and tried to jump out the window. But Alex did not hesitate and grabbed her, and Helen collapsed on the floor. The woman hissed at him, "Get your hands off me, you pauper. This is all your fault. The minute you came into this house, everything went wrong. You're the one who ratted everybody out." Kelly couldn't believe what was happening. It seemed like a horror movie to her. Yesterday she had been a happy bride, and now she found that she had baited scoundrels and crooks who wanted to kill her. There was no love at all. This is monstrous cynicism. Arthur just killed her. She got emotional, ran up to him, and slapped him across the face. Is that how you love me? I believed you. How could you? Why did you go behind my back? Answer me. You already had everything. Arthur grinned wryly. No, I didn't. You're the Harris, not me, because it's not fair that some people get everything and others get nothing. Though I must say I do like you. I can tell you're a girl, but you're too righteous and tedious. I'm bored with you, Kelly. I can't help it. And if it wasn't for that nosy little beggar, I'd be all right. I'd be swimming in your money and living like a king. Kelly burst into tears. David added, and now, finally, we got you red-handed. So instead of red caviar, you're gonna be eating prison gruel. And your accomplice, too. And you, Alex, I thank you for your vigilance. After all, it was you who saved the day. Kelly, don't cry. Think of this day as your second birthday. And from now on, be picky and make new acquaintances. As you can see, there are more crooks than normal people. Arthur and Helen were taken to the police car and taken to the station. And Kelly continued to sit in public and sob uncontrollably. Unable to stop herself, she was shamed, crushed, and morally destroyed. Alex was worried about his mistress and didn't know how to approach her to help her. So the guy took the first bottle he could find from the bar from her, poured a full glass, and moved it to Kelly. You need to drink it all at once in one gulp to relax. It will help. Kelly carried the glass with trembling hands and sipped a couple of years. The strong liquor burned her throat, so that she was already choking and coughing. Then, breathing, she said, I do not know how to go on living, Alex. Who to believe if the one I loved turned out to be a traitor? My father and mother died. I am alone, all alone. And these cursed millions bring only grief. The boy gently took her hand and whispered, I can be trusted. I will always be like a faithful dog at your feet. I will not betray or give up to anyone, because I am. I love you. You are what you are. For me, the best and the most unattainable. Kelly was taken aback. She clearly did not expect such a sincere confession from her janitor. She did not know what to answer and quietly said, thank you, Alex. You saved my life. And now I am also your own. I am very grateful to you. Now go. I need to be alone. Since that day, Kelly and Alex began to talk a lot. The girl took a different view of this guy, especially after his sincere and ardent confession. At first, it was all innocent. They walked around with Richie for hours. Kelly talked about herself, about her mother, whom she barely remembered, and her beloved daddy, whose loss she still couldn't come to terms with. And Alex did not keep quiet about his personal destiny. He said nothing about the death of his mother, and about how he foolishly drank his apartment, and how he did not understand the importance of education. Now they wandered around the world. No one wanted them, and bitterly regretted everything. It was easy for both of them. Together, there were no secrets and no misunderstandings. And one day they crossed the line. Alex hadn't been a foul-mouthed tramp for a long time. He dressed normally, got a haircut, and was no different from any other young guy. Kelly herself didn't realize when or how she had fallen in love with him. He just surrounded her with so much care, was always there for her, and looked at her that way. The boy really loved his mistress so much that if she told him to go and drown himself, he would undoubtedly do it. One day, Alex stayed up late in her kitchen. They drank tea and chatted about everything. It was time to disperse, to go to bed. Kelly started putting the dishes away. Then she felt Alex's strong arms around her waist. The boy began stroking her and kissing her shyly. Then more and more boldly and more passionately, Kelly tried to resist. Alex, are you out of your mind? It doesn't seem right. We don't have to what people will say. But the guy couldn't stop anymore. He whispered to her like a delirium. Sweetheart, sweetheart, my dearest, don't send me away. I can't go on. I'm burning with you. I can't breathe without you. And she swam away. And then everything spun into a whirlwind of passion. They woke up in the same bed in Kelly's bedroom. The guy was sound asleep with his muscular arms spread wide, and the girl was frantically thinking, God, what am I doing? First a crook, now a tramp. If you tell anyone, they will laugh. I imagine I'll be picked on by everyone who can't help it. On the other hand, who cares? I don't give a damn about anybody. It's my life and nobody else's. Alex loves me sincerely. What could be more valuable? He saved my life. Whatever happens, I feel so good with him. From then on, their nights became regular. A month later, Kelly realized she was pregnant. She was both pleased and shocked at the same time. From that day on, the couple began living together. Kelly got Alex a job at her father's restaurant as an assistant cook at first, because he had no education. The guy turned out to be so smart he loved cooking, showed imagination and creativity, and soon became a chef. And 3 months later, it turned out at the ultrasound that Kelly was triplets. What a twist. She certainly didn't expect this. Everyone she knew turned their fingers to their heads and whispered in the corners, the rich heiress is completely crazy pregnant with 3 children from a vagrant. She picked him up off the street. No last name, no position, no education. She's not a good person. Couldn't she have found a groom of high society status? She might be young and pretty, but she was a fool. But Kelly didn't care about all the gossip. She and Alex applied to the registry office and went to all the events together as guests. One day they went to see Kevin, a well-known businessman. He owned a pizza chain in town and often crossed paths with True Father on business. It was at this dinner that an important conversation was to take place about the possible merger of their companies into one huge chain. A maid greeted them on the threshold of the huge mansion, helped Kelly undress, and then approached Alex. But as soon as he turned to face her, the woman ran wild and collapsed. The guests rushed out screaming and started splashing water on her. The maid woke up, began to baptize and wail, God save and have mercy. The dead man has risen. William, how did you come back from there? Kelly and Alex were dumbfounded and couldn't figure out if she had the guy confused with someone else. But then Kevin, the owner, came out screaming. He took one look at Alex and immediately went pale. He clutched his heart and began to crouch on the floor. Alex was already frightened himself. He looked in the mirror. What was going on? Do I look like a demon, or am I not reflected in the mirror? Why did everyone confuse me with some kind of providence? Kevin started to come to his senses and said, Well, hello, son. We meet again. And your dad's your real dad. That's how it happens. And you were confused with your twin brother, William. He died a short time ago. It hasn't been 40 days yet. Now Alex has gone bad. He only rejoiced, like a twin brother. Why didn't I know anything about it? And my mother never mentioned it. Tell me everything, for God's sake. What the hell is going on here? Kevin sighed and started the story. It was a long time ago. I was an economics student. In my last year of college, I had an affair with a girl named Jenna. It wasn't my passionate love, but I was very carried away by flowers, candy, moonlight walks, just like everybody else. And then she suddenly got pregnant, and with twins. Everyone was shocked because it's a little early. We're almost kids ourselves, but it couldn't be helped. I had to get married. Those were different times. I passed my final exams with a bang and got my diploma. Jenna never finished her studies. We moved to a family dormitory, but they're both yesterday's students. No money, life was overwhelming, and there were no conditions. I had no money at all. I got by on odd jobs. Jenna had a baby, twins named William and Alex, but our young family couldn't stand it. Difficulties couldn't live together. Fought day and night. Jenna was insanely jealous of me. I was a fool too. Hadn't gotten around to it yet. Anyway, they're both good. What can I say? For 6 months, we've been fraying each other's nerves, decided to get a divorce. Jenna said, whatever you want, but I can't handle 2 kids by myself. I just want to be able to cope with one. So you take one, and I'll take one. Fair enough. It seems crazy now. Back then, when I was young, I didn't have the brains to think about breaking their lives, not my own. I used to put my William. It was stronger. Slept well, and Jenna picked you up and went to the other side of town. That's how we lived. Never crossed paths again. I managed to get up and get rich and get married in the doldrums of the 90s. Then I opened a pizzeria chain with Maria and my second wife. We lived soul to soul. But God did not give us more children together. She accepted William as her own and loved him sincerely. William lived in luxury, did not need anything. He grew up as he should have, graduated from the institute, got married, and started doing business with me. He was a good guy, but he was killed recently, shot in broad daylight, and it's all clear. Investigators still don't have a single clue. My son went out to negotiate and never came back. I can't tell you how sorry I am. That's why when I saw you, I thought William had come back from the dead. You look just like him, don't you? Alex was dumbfounded, listening and perplexed. But it's been so many years. Why didn't you come looking for me? You didn't care at all about your other son's life. My mother and I barely made it. We counted the little things and lived in poverty. Why didn't my mother tell me I had a brother? She was dying in my arms and kept silent. That's sacrilege. We could have been friends. We could have communicated. My God, what have you done? You're called parents. Kevin was silent. He had nothing to say. I know what I did, son, was very nasty. And your mother was wrong too. I wanted to find you after William died. But then I thought about what I was going to tell you. The kind of eyes I was going to see you with. I was embarrassed, so I didn't even look for you. I thought you hated me, but it turns out you didn't even know you had a father. I'm sorry, Alex, if you can. Don't hold it against me. I'd like to get back together with you, if you don't mind, and make up for the years of foolishness I've missed. Alex sat pale as chalk. His patriarchy was like a fever. He answered quietly, I don't know what to tell you yet. Dad, can I think of one thing to ask? Show me pictures and my brother's grave. At least after his death, visit him. I feel like sobbing, howling, screaming. I can't tell you what's happening to me right now. The soiree was crumpled. Alex looked at his brother's picture for a long time. He saw himself. Only the haircut was different and the birthmark above his right eyebrow. Otherwise, he looked the same. At home, Alex could not come to his senses. But why was it like this? All his life, he had lived with his mother alone and believed that he had no relatives in the world. It turns out that he and his brother walked in the same city. They breathed the same air, but knew nothing about each other. They weren't even given the chance to meet, talk, and socialize at least once. But was that fair? Kelly saw how hard it was for Alex and tried to comfort him. Honey, I understand how you feel. You're angry at your father and mother, and in many ways you're right. But look on the bright side. It's their mistakes. It's not for us to judge them. It's the past. You can't get anything back. Your mother and your brother are in the grave, but your father is alive and wants to talk to you. Maybe you shouldn't refuse and try to make things work. He's a blood relative after all. Soon to be a grandfather. You should think about it. Alex thought about it. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I'm wondering how and why William died. I can't leave it at that. Can you help me with that? Kelly said yes. I can turn to David again. After all, he found out about Arthur fast, got to the truth. Maybe he can help here too. He's getting a call right now. I'll ask to see him. Alex was delighted. I love you so much, darling. Thank you for your understanding. In the meantime, I'll talk to William's second wife. Maybe she can clear something up. I bet she's grieving. Poor thing. Maybe she needs help. The next day, Alex went to the house of Molly, the dead brother's wife. He wanted to have a heart-to-heart talk with her, to find out all about William, to cheer her up somehow, to comfort her. He came to the gate of the good quality mansion, and through the fence he saw an interesting picture. A shish kebab was roasting in the yard. A table was set. A young, pretty blonde girl was sitting in the arms of a sturdy young man, laughing mischievously. Alex was taken aback. So much for the widow. I thought she was grieving. It's been 40 days since William died, and she's having all the fun, and with another man. The guy knocked. The girl, with a look of obvious dissatisfaction on her face, went to open the door. When she saw Alex, she went pale and fell into the yard, began to babble incoherently. "William, oh my God, you're dead. Mammy, go away. It doesn't work like that." The man Molly had just spoken to also chickened out a lot and began to cross himself. "Pretty soon you'll be an uncle. Kelly and I and the three of us aren't waiting. Too bad you won't get to see your nephews. Rest in peace. May you rest in peace." Kevin sobbed on the sidelines. He was terribly ashamed. His conscience burned him, and he whispered, "Forgive me, my children. We did a lot of things with my mother. We have not only maimed our own, but your fates were torn apart. You forcibly tore the thread between you and lived in peace. I have only now realized what I have done. I am very ashamed. Forgive me, it is my cross to live with it." Alex silently walked over, hugged him firmly, patted his back. "Well, that's it, Father. They go to their place. Let's live in the present. We had a lot to talk about. I want to know every little detail about you and your brother. It's very important to me." A couple of weeks later, Alex called an excited David and told him I had news. "We found your brother's killer. It's his wife's lover. That's who you saw in Molly's yard. Unfortunately, it was the lust for money and profit. And that's where it all came down. We discreetly planted a wire in Molly's house and watched the security cameras on the stretch of road where William was shot. We didn't have to wait long. The lovers indulged in a pastime and told the story themselves. There's evidence on the tape. They're both on trial right now, testifying against each other, shifting the blame. Once again, your instincts were right. You've unmistakably identified the scoundrel. I'd like to have you on my staff." Alex grinned bitterly. "Well, no, I work perfectly well as a cook. Pity my brother. He did not expect such a stab in the back from the closest man. This was the first time I saw it. That's all. I think people are all about Satan. Or has the world gone crazy? How is it possible to kill a loved one for the sake of those damn papers? Isn't happiness measured?" David sighed. "You're right about that. It's not the money, but a lot of people seem to have forgotten that. You don't see that in our service." Kevin came down with a heart attack when he found out that William's death was on his wife's conscience. He cried, hated her, and blamed himself for not keeping his son safe. He saw that Molly didn't love him at all. Alex saw him every day, brought fruit. They talked a lot. They became much closer. It was at that moment when Alex saw his father with his eyes full of tears, so aged and helpless. The boy realized that he loved him very much and was very afraid to lose him. And don't care about the old grudges. What matters is his father. There he is. They found each other, and every moment spent together should be treasured. Soon the news that the famous businessman Kevin found a twin son flew around town. And all those detractors who endlessly rewashed the bones of poor Kelly once silent. I secretly envy her, but it should be. And how she in an ordinary tramp spotted a rich hair. Pregnancy. Kelly, in spite of triplets, went easily. It was only in her final terms that she began to look like a balloon. Alex never left her side and literally blew the dust off. Kelly and Kevin merged into one big corporation. An experienced businessman skillfully managed it, and Kelly breathed a sigh of relief. Now she could step back and enjoy her position. Alex continued to work as a cook. He was so captivated by this profession that he pampered his beloved at home with delicacies and interesting gourmet dishes. Kevinto also approached the issue responsibly, and despite his protests, Kelly literally stormed children's stores, buying up everything in a row. He was anxiously awaiting the birth of his grandchildren, dreamed of taking care of them, and thanked God that he had given him a son. Now life as a businessman was full of rich, real speech again. He grew up and became a huge black handsome man, but by nature he remained the kindest dog. He was a family favorite and a mascot. After all, it was thanks to him that Alex met Kelly, and our heroine snuggled up to her beloved every night, thought how good it was that she listened to her heart at the time, and despite the gossip of others, fell in love with a tramp, led him into her life. After all, Alex turned out to be the best husband in the world. Alex said, "Good afternoon, Molly. I'm not William, I'm Alex, his twin brother. Unfortunately, I only found out the other day that I had a brother. Very upset that he died. So I wanted to talk to you. I thought you could tell me about him. But I see you're a little busy. I'll probably come back another time." Molly realized that she looked ridiculous and tried to justify herself. "We are here for work. I really would rather take a rain check." Alex left and informed David of what he had seen. "Would you check this widow's alibi? I personally saw her today, laughing and cooing behind another man. And this despite the fact that her husband tragically died a short time ago. Something doesn't make sense. She's not grief-stricken in any way. She's having a good time. That's very interesting. Maybe you're looking in the wrong place, especially since the competition has an airtight alibi. Thanks for the information. I personally double-checked it." Alex didn't stop there and decided to talk to my father. He was incredibly pleased. The meeting fussed. "Sonny, Alex, come in. Well done for coming. So you've forgiven me. I don't know where I am. I keep worrying." Alex said, "You know, Father, he who remembers old things takes his eye off the ball. You'll be a grandfather soon. We've got those 3. We won't talk to each other. You'll see your grandchildren. Why should we fight? That's why I came. Tell me about Molly to William's wife. How did they live? Did she love him at all?" Kevin sighed. "It's not an easy story. William couldn't find a mate for a long time, but they were getting worried. And then 3 years ago, he finally said he was in love, and he was bringing his fiancée to meet him. My wife and I got excited, laid the table. But when we saw this vulgar and untied person, just stunned. It turns out that her son met her in a cafe. She worked there as a waitress and fell in love. So at least he's getting lost. And the girl's not too shabby. She realized that the groom is promising and clung to him with a dead grip. Soon they were married, but family life could hardly be called happy children. Molly categorically did not want any. She did almost nothing at home either. All she did was shop, spending money. Not only that, her son was told more than once that she was cheating on him, but he didn't believe her. When her son was killed, Molly didn't shed a tear at the funeral, even though she tried to look sad. "We don't talk to each other now. So there you go." Alex was shocked and told Kevin about what he had seen in William's yard. "I thought I'd come over and have a heart-to-heart with her. She'd tell me about her brother, what he was like. Maybe show me a picture. You should have seen her face when she mistook me for William, like everybody else. Her eyes flashed. She looked scared, like she'd been caught doing something naughty. And the man was all fussy about it. You can kill me, but only lovers behave like that. Would a grief-stricken woman have any interest in having fun with men if she was mourning her husband? I would tell all the operatives, David. Let them double-check everything. I'd like to go to my brother's grave. Will you show me where it is?" Alex and his father went to the cemetery. On the way, they bought flowers and cognac, and also a wreath on which was written, "From my brother. Rest in peace." When we saw the grave, where there was no monument, it was strewn with fresh flowers and wreaths. He could not withstand the heat of emotion and fell right to the wet ground, whispering, Hello, my brother William. We did not see each other in life, even though we met here. It's not my fault that we didn't know each other. I am very sorry for that. For you are my copy. You and I are like two peas in a pod. All I can and must do for you is to find your murderer and punish him. It is a matter of honor, and I will do my best to do it.